This is an evil monkey's paw from India, possessing powers similar to Aladdin's magic lamp. It can fulfill 3 wishes for its owner. With each wish granted, the paw clenches one of its fingers until it encounters a new owner, at which point it resets, ready for the next set of wishes. The only drawback is quite significant: anyone making a wish pays the price with their life. Our story unfolds on a stormy night, as a criminal, pursued by the police, meets with a car accident. Though he survives, his body is severely injured. Driven by a strong will to live, Angela stumbles upon a nearby funeral home, where she's saved by the owner, Ryan. Through his treatment, Angela wakes up, but she discovers the loss of 2 fingers. Armed with a pistol, she confronts Ryan, demanding an explanation for the removal of her fingers. Ryan, forced to reveal the truth, explains that it was a necessary sacrifice to save her life. As they chat in the living room, Ryan utters some strange words, hinting that Angela's arrival wasn't a coincidence but part of a carefully planned scheme. He then presents her with a gift, a box containing a withered monkey's paw. This paw, as Ryan reveals, was smuggled from Mumbai by a deceased client. Legend has it that an Indian ascetic cast a spell on the paw, imbuing it with the magical ability to grant 3 wishes. Angela finds Ryan's story utterly absurd. It's one thing to deceive a child, but to convince her requires more than just tales of wishes. Ryan acknowledges his initial skepticism, recounting how even he doubted the paw's powers until his wife made 2 wishes, both of which came true. Angela, however, remains skeptical, attributing it to mere coincidence. Ryan understands the challenge of convincing someone of such extraordinary claims, especially when there's no first-hand experience. To bolster his case, he shares the story of his wife's 3rd wish. After the first 2 wishes were granted, their funeral home business suffered a severe decline, reaching the brink of bankruptcy. Even during the typically profitable winter season, business remained dismal. Facing financial ruin, Ryan's wife turned to the monkey's paw for a solution. Her wish was for a significant sum of money.
All the money we need.
And miraculously, a week later, they received a windfall. However, this apparent blessing came at a devastating cost: his wife's life. She fell while decorating the Christmas tree, and the money they received was, in fact, a compensation payout for her death. Despite this tragic turn of events, Angela, grounded in her scientific beliefs, remains unconvinced. The subsequent events, however, reveal to Ryan the true power of the monkey's paw. The newfound wealth proves meaningless in the face of the profound loneliness that follows his wife's death. The money can't bring back his greatest love, leaving Ryan to face the harsh reality of losing her forever. Driven by desperation and the audacious idea of reviving his deceased wife, Ryan takes out the open monkey's paw. With a cautious hope, he becomes the new master of the paw and wishes for his wife's resurrection.
My Marjorie, back from the dead.
As he utters the words, the room's lights flicker, and Ryan believes he hears his wife's voice. Quickly checking the paw, he finds a finger has closed, indicating the wish has been granted. However, when he opens the door, there's no sight of his wife. Every night thereafter, Ryan prays for a miracle, hoping to see his wife again. Unfortunately, weeks pass without any sign. It's only when the coffin unexpectedly shuts one day that Ryan realizes his oversight. He wished for his wife's resurrection without considering the state of her burial. Swiftly driving to the graveyard, he opens her grave to find her indeed resurrected, but in a terrifying state. In an unexpected twist, Ryan, displaying unconditional love, kisses his resurrected wife passionately. Ecstatic about the monkey's paw's seemingly limitless power, Ryan's joy is short-lived. His resurrected wife suddenly goes berserk, lunging at him like a crazed zombie. Despite his injury, Ryan reacts quickly, kicking her away and grabbing a shovel to fend her off. Tearfully, he pushes her back into the grave. At this moment, Ryan finally understands that his resurrected wife is no longer human. He takes out the monkey's paw again and wishes for her eternal peace. As the paw closes its 2nd finger, everything finally returns to calm. However, Angela, who has listened to the entire story, dismisses Ryan's account as nonsense. Clearly, she remains unconvinced, believing it to be a fabricated tale. To prove the truth, Ryan invites Angela to inspect the scar on his leg. Angela, however, chooses to decline. Frustrated, Ryan leaves, allowing Angela to decide whether she wants the gift or not. Curious, she picks up the monkey's paw and discovers that all 3 fingers are closed, indicating Ryan has made the final wish. The next morning, Angela prepares to bid farewell to Ryan. He doesn't stop her and even suggests she take his car. Angela, puzzled by Ryan's sudden generosity, questions him. Eventually, Ryan reveals the truth. Angela's arrival was his last wish to the monkey's paw. Devastated by his wife's departure, he lost the will to live. Unwilling to take his own life, he used the paw to summon an assassin. Angela immediately refutes, claiming she's not an assassin. However, upon reflection, she recalls the mercy killing she performed for her terminally ill boyfriend, the very act that led to her being wanted by the police. Ryan emphasizes that their fates are intertwined, and there's no escaping it. He hands the monkey's paw to Angela. Skeptical and refusing to believe in fate, she throws the paw into the fireplace. In a desperate attempt to retrieve the monkey's paw from the fireplace and prevent the wish from vanishing, Ryan uses his bare hands. However, his arm is instantly engulfed in flames, and he screams in agony. Urgently, he pleads with Angela to help him. Compassionate Angela, aiming to alleviate Ryan's pain, reluctantly pulls the trigger.
Thank you.
This fulfills Ryan's third wish, and the monkey's paw in Angela's hand opens again, signifying her becoming the new master. With a mixture of belief and skepticism, Angela rolls up Ryan's pant leg and indeed finds the scar, finally convincing her that everything is real. Thinking of her deceased boyfriend, whom she had killed, Angela conceives the idea of resurrecting him. Rushing to her car, she plans to drive to the funeral home where her boyfriend's body is stored. However, she struggles to find the car keys. As she mutters about the whereabouts of the keys, the sun visor above suddenly flips open, and the keys drop down. Unaware that she has unconsciously used one wish, Angela grabs the keys. After a few failed attempts, the engine finally starts. Glancing at the monkey's paw beside her, Angela realizes that she has used 2 wishes. She arrives at the funeral home, locates her boyfriend's body, and, in frustration, uses the monkey's paw for the final wish. However, seconds later, her boyfriend shows no signs of life. Infuriated, Angela throws the monkey's paw to the ground. Suddenly, the lights in the morgue go out. When they come back on, all the bodies have turned into zombies. Without realizing, her boyfriend, now revived, stands up and bites into Angela. As watermelon juice drips, the last finger of the monkey's paw slowly retracts. Angela has fulfilled the third wish but pays the ultimate price, her life.